on a beautiful Saturday morning in sunny Okanagan. Hey, Ken.
Yeah.
We got to talk the F-R-O-S-T word here in a minute. In a minute. But first of all, let's do our tips and plants of the week.
You betcha.
My tip of the week is watch the weather like a hawk. Some things are very sensitive, while others not so much. And we'll expand on this during the show, talk about what really should come in right away, what things can stay out, even with a touch of frost.
Yeah.
Have some fun with that. Mm-hmm. My tip of the week, or that was my tip of the week. We did it already.
It was.
My plant of the week is, and I bet you don't get this one, I bet you liquid amber.
Yeah.
Liquid amber. That's the sweet gum, the American sweet gum.
It's a tree.
It's a fabulous tree. Fabulous tree.
Beautiful
fabulous
fall colors.
Fall color. Yeah, absolutely. And a nice controlled tree. Doesn't have a lot of issues as far as I know. I don't think so.
Yeah.
Liquid amber.
There you go. That's a fabulous tip and plant. I also have a tip and a plant. My tip of the week is that it is time to plant garlic. Of course, this is Thanksgiving weekend. It's time to plant garlic. So if you haven't done it, this is the time to do it. And we'll be talking a little bit more about garlic today during the show. So if you have any questions, feel free to phone in. Also, my plant of the week this week could have been garlic, but it really is the burning bush, the Euonymus alata compacta, or Euonymus alata. I was out at a property and I saw one that just knocked my socks off, and I just thought, wow, that's got to be the plant of the week this week. So that's what it is. And
burning bush,
the Euonymus alatus compacta. It's a beauty. Remember to check growercoach.com.
Yeah, Ken, that is a wonderful shrub. Sometimes, though, they have been a little less than reliable as far as turning color. I'm not sure why. I think there's little different varieties or something in there.
There's something.
Something's going on.
Yeah, there's something's going on. This year, they're looking pretty fabulous.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. It could be conditions,
Yeah, I'm going to go and inspect one that I know is in full shade, because that's always been a thing. Some people would say if you grow them in shade, they don't get as good of fall colors. But I think I might be proving that wrong. So I have to just go look at this one that I know is growing in full shade. And I had a quick peek at it driving by at 60 kilometers an hour, just out of the corner of my eye, and I thought it was looking like it was going to change and be that spectacular red. But I have to go back and check.
Yeah, you betcha. Ken, last week I promised that I would do this.
Uh-oh.
We had strawberry questions, right?
Yeah.
So I'm going to get my strawberry expert on. Gabe Capel is going to come on with us after the 9 o'clock break.
Oh, fabulous.
Gabe is going to come on, and we're going to talk strawberries from the horse's mouth. Now, I don't know if he wants me to call it the horse's mouth, but it's going to be strawberries from the horse's mouth.
There you go.
He knows what he's all about strawberries, been growing them for years. And so it'll be kind of fun to chat, because I don't know what you can, but there's certain things that are out there that there are many, many more people than I, or probably you, I'm not going to suggest this, but probably you, don't know as much about as some other people. And that's what the garden show is all about, is sharing information, because that's what gardening is all about. A lifetime of gardening couldn't get you to know everything there was. So
no, it just kind of gets you going. You need to have several lifetimes.
Well, there you go. Got to be a kitty cat.
Yeah.
Cats
are pretty good in the garden, sort of. Yeah. They kind of annoy me, actually, quite a bit.
Cats. Oh, yeah. They are the garden's enemy sometimes.
They are indeed.
250-862-2525 to get through to Ken and I today. We're having a good time, and it is fall. Ken, I woke up yesterday morning. Not this morning, but yesterday morning. I woke up, and I could just feel it. There was something going on. I looked out the window.
Could you see it?
Frost on the roof of my shop.
Yep.
Actual white frost.
Oh, yeah.
Like it was like we were in a refrigerator.
Yeah, we had a lot of frost. We had to scrape the windows going to work in the morning on Friday. And, there was, I think we had about a -3, somewhere in that range. It was kind of chilly. I went out the night before and got in any of the last plants that I for sure wanted to keep.
Right.
And even my brugmansias, which are humongous, they're about 6 feet high. And just absolutely every single leaf on the plant has a massive trumpet flower on it that is incredibly fragrant in the evenings. And so just to enjoy the I don't know how many blooms. I'm going to do a video on that. I think tonight, or probably this afternoon, just of all of the incredible flowers on my Brugmansias. Like I say, almost every bloom has a huge trumpet. I mean, every leaf. Sorry, you don't have to get that straight. So that's a lot of flowers. So I bring them in, put them right in my living room, just for the next week or so. Just to enjoy that fragrance at night. The whole house, just unbelievable. But it's funny, right? At about 6:30, 7 p.m., it's like a light switch. All of a sudden, the fragrance turns on, even with interior lights on. It's a funny thing. Yeah. They just do that.
Well, I don't know what I'm going to do about my Brugmansia because it's a white fly factory again this year. Anyway, I'm not going to take it in the greenhouse. I may strip it right down to a stub and then bring that into the greenhouse. That might be appropriate.
I'll have to get some of those white flies from you.
I'm
right out.
I have a white fly factory. Look at, we have Ariel joining us. Good morning, Ariel. It's a beautiful morning in the Okanagan.
Yes, it is, and it's been absolutely wonderful to go out there and put the gardens to bed, mostly. I've still got some work to do. But I have a couple of questions, 3 questions. Columbine, the first time I've ever seen this, mildew is on it, white mildew stuff.
Not the first time I've seen it.
Oh, really?
Oh, yeah.
Well, I'm going with this particular plant, never seen it.
Yeah, this time of year, what you want to do, Ariel, is do some cleanup. Just totally remove all that diseased foliage right down to the base at this time of year. Don't let it sit over winter. Put it in the green bin, bury it, do something with it, but don't leave it there because that's basically, Ken, you can expand on that, but that's...
it proliferates and it overwinters on foliage, old foliage and whatnot. So with the columbines, they're pretty easy because you just grab the entire plant in one handful and chop it off, and you're good to go for next year.
Will do, but the foliage was looking so beautiful, I didn't have heart to cut it.
Yeah.
I had mildew on the hoary stalks, and what I did was I thinned them all out, and guess what? I don't have it this year.
Oh, there you go.
So the Hansa Rose, remember the one that the beaver got at last year and ate the Just Joey Rose?
Oh, yeah.
Just Joey Rose,
yes.
It got killed, but the Hansa Rose didn't, and it's huge. It's like as big as I am. When do I start pruning that thing?
Well, yeah.
I do spring, but Hansa, is one that's a shrub rose. It's a rugosa. And that's the type of thing that quite often people, I see some at Gushigan Gardens and whatnot that are big. They just let them grow as a big shrub.
You see any flowers on them right now?
Oh, I do. It's amazing.
Wow. Cool. That's what I was wondering because there's sometimes they'll put on that big blast show, in early summer, and then they're kind of sporadic for the rest of the season.
No, this thing's been blooming all summer, Ken. I have it totally in sun.
Awesome. Yeah. Well, there you go. So
you have the option, right, Ken? I pruned them right to the ground, to the 6 or 8 inches to renew them.
Yeah,
but I've also seen
any choice. The beaver ate them.
Well, there you go. That's So you could just leave it, and if you leave it, you're going to have a little bit more bloom, I think, next year than if you cut it back.
Well, then great. I'm gonna leave it, but I think I'm gonna do what you said. Chop it right down because it just became huge and it flowered like crazy after the beaver had at it.
Well, then I was totally wrong.
Okay. Low growing shade plants. I've got a particular area that I want to put some in. What do you suggest?
Well, there's lots of different perennials that are in that category, and you sort of have to pick and choose a few. Yeah, low-growing ones like campanulas. There's a lot of the creeping campanula.
Campanula, okay.
Yeah, there's quite a few good ones. Birch's hybrid, and they do pretty good in the shade. There was a golden one. I think it's called Darts Gold, I think it's called. Not 100% sure on that, but it's a campanula that just grows on the low and it kind of creeps and it's kind of a golden color, really nice blue flowers. Remember that just the moneywort, the creeping jenny, is good.
Yeah.
The golden one is the one most people like. And it's lovely in the shade, and it's one of my favorite plants. It's easy to grow and spreads around.
Ariel, are you looking for something really low, or are you just saying like medium low, like a foot
low
and a half?
Because the little sprinkler's there in the corner, and it's kind of a corner, and it's sitting right next to a great big concrete building, and it's totally in the shade by a black lace elderberry, and it just seems like I can't get, well, there's violets, of course, but I don't want violets in there.
Mm-hmm. No,
What about Lily of the Valley?
Oh, no. I spent all summer getting rid of that stuff.
It has its place, though.
Oh,
I mean, it's only a weed if it's not wanted. I mean, I've seen some plantings of Lily of the Valley that are fabulous.
It's nice
that are
to
really,
contain them, isn't it? To use a little root barrier around them.
Yep.
Yeah.
Well, I guess I could, but they're right. They're this particular area is besides the place where I've got gaillardias, and I don't want them coming up and wrecking them.
We got you.
So, okay, well, listen, thank you so much, and you guys have a fabulous Turkey Day.
Yeah. Happy Thanksgiving to you. Take care.
Okay.
Bye-bye. Bye-bye now.
Thanks, Ariel. Bye-bye.
Yeah, Ken, it's so interesting how it is Thanksgiving weekend, and the first thing I think of is garlic. But I said, I'm not going to do garlic because Ken's going to do garlic.
Ken will do it. I know. I was thinking that I thought I had a backup. So I thought, Don's going to do garlic for sure.
We are going to take a short break right now. We've got tons of time left on the show, so give us a call because that's what it's all about. 250-862-2525 to get through to Ken and I. We'll be back with more AM 1150 Garden Show. Good morning again. It is a beautiful Saturday morning, fall in the Okanagan, and what a great time of year it is. Pumpkins and things are going on. Everything's
I'm really loving the
corn
pumpkins.
mazes, and pretty soon.
Been seeing some great photos of pumpkins. They look like they're ripening up nicely. I guess that warm weather this year really pushed them along.
Do you remember when you were a child, you'd say something and then you realize later when you went to school and you saw it spelt, you changed the pronunciation? Well, I used to call pumpkins pumpkins.
Oh.
When I was a kid, it was a pumpkin.
Oh.
Well, were you going to get a pumpkin? And I go to school and there's a P in there. Pumpkin. Okay.
That's school. They keep changing things
trivial stuff. Irene has joined us. Good morning, Irene. Or good night, Irene. I don't know if it's good morning or good.
No, I have a question for you. I'm wondering if it's a good idea to sow lettuce and radish seed now. The garden is all ready, so would it be a good idea?
I don't think. Well, I've never tried radishes in the fall. I have heard of lettuce going in and then it germinating early in the spring. I've heard of that.
Radish is used as a cover crop sometimes, too, more or less to keep the soils alive because it will germinate in this cold temperature and it will grow. But it generally, I don't think it would survive much. But it's always, it's not expensive. And I think I would maybe try a little bit and see what
Irene,
happens.
you are out there doing research for us for the garden show.
Yeah.
And you're going to try it and you're going to let us know in the spring what happens because Ken and I are both kind of going, well, might be. Who knows? I mean, there are people that plant peas in the fall and they've come through the winter.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
so why not try it? I mean, seed is cheap.
Okay.
Yeah, give it a try and let us know how you make out.
Okay, I will.
Okay, dear.
Awesome. Okay.
Thank you.
Thanks for the call, Irene.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Bye-bye.
Yeah,
well,
interesting
when
thing.
you and I were talking back in July, and we were talking about, we should do a summer seeding, of some vegetables and things. And then
I didn't.
You didn't, and I did. But I did mine on August 1st,
which was spinach?
I seeded bok choy, spinach, lettuce, onions, and carrots. And they all came up, and they're doing very well. The spinach is now about 8 inches high, and I've already harvested a couple times. The lettuce is just becoming harvested. It's romaine lettuce, so it's only about barely, say, 10 inches high. So it's not quite. You can go through and get some lettuce off it. And the onions are beautiful. They're about maybe 6-8 inches tall. The carrots are about 10 inches tall, but they're not producing much on the bottoms.
No.
I was just wondering if, maybe I could get some baby carrots or something to harvest before winter hits,
For your Thanksgiving table.
Yeah, something like that.
But
the bok choy is huge. It just grows.
Yeah. Now, carrots being a biennial, if they go through the winter, they're just going to go to seed next winter. next spring, right?
Possibly, yeah. I was thinking I was going to harvest them, but I this is again, it's an experiment, right? And depending what climate you're in, like I'm sure if people were down at the coast in the coastal areas, they could plant carrots on August 1st, and they would likely be harvesting them in mid-November or so, right?
Yep.
And they would likely, they could have success if they're in a sunny spot, So yeah, it's interesting, and just as you're saying, you have to do experimenting.
So Irene's going to do some experimenting for us. She's going to plant that lettuce and radishes this fall. We're going to expect a report in the spring. We need a report come April, May. See what it's like.
What's going on?
What's going on there? Yeah, 250-862-2525 to get through to us today. Our days are now 5 hours and 48 minutes shorter than the longest day in June. 5 hours and 48 minutes shorter. My, how time flies, doesn't it? Pretty soon we're going to be coming up to that December time, the December 22nd, when it's 8 hours and 5 minutes long. The
shortest day of the year.
Shortest day of the year. Right now it's 11 hours and 7 minutes long, which is still pretty good. It's shrinking rapidly.
Yeah, the night is growing.
Yeah, the night is growing. So everything that's stimulated by short days, long nights, is doing well. It's enjoying that time. Boy, I'll tell you, the annuals and things that are in the garden, and that's what my tip of the week was about. But we want to talk about what should come in right away, and what kind of thing that can stay out. And we'll talk about that. But we've got Sandy joining us, and we would not want to miss what Sandy has to say today. Good morning, Sandy.
Good morning and happy Thanksgiving.
Thank you, dear.
Happy Thanksgiving to you.
So talking about your carrots being biennial, I planted mine this year. About a quarter of them have gone to seed.
Interesting, eh?
They're supposed to be biennial.
What do we know, eh?
I don't know what's wrong with them. I've never had that happen.
No,
they smell great. They're like Queen Anne's lace.
Oh, and they're full bloom.
Oh, they're related. They're related.
So like
in fact,
that's of them are tall and seed head.
Yeah. Interesting. Well, let's blame the heat.
Yeah. Well, the heat pushed everything ahead, right? It pushed things like so far ahead. This sounds like it knocked yours right into 2022.
Yeah. I thought it was a whole other year.
That's right.
Yeah.
Well, it's interesting you mentioned that they look like Queen Anne's lace because that particular plant is very related to the carrot, and that's where if you're battling carrot rust fly, they say don't have any Queen Anne's lace or carrot-like plants close to the garden because it will proliferate the carrot rust fly. So keep that in mind. Yeah.
Yeah. So I haven't actually pulled my carrots yet, but.
Yeah, it'd be interesting to see what the ones that are gone to seed look like down below there. They might be kind of woody.
Yeah,
Who
they
knows?
Probably won't be a whole lot of carrot there.
Yeah.
Never know.
Anyhow, just thought I'd throw that at you because I'd never seen it before.
We always appreciate it, Sandy. It's great to hear from you. You take care.
Interesting.
Yep.
All righty. Take care.
Yep. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Yeah, you never know.
250-862-2525 to get through to us today. Ken, there are certain things that, like, I'm not worrying about in the garden. But when I saw that frost on the roof, now, we talked about that frost, how the frost works like water and it flows, right? Why is it on my roof and not killing my tropicals that I had out?
Yeah, good question. I think there's a lot of hot air in your particular area.
Our whole neighborhood's full of hot air.
Yeah, but and similar at my house, I have dahlias in the back, dahlias, all growing, and I thought for sure they would be melted because I saw there was a forecast of -2 or whatever. I thought, well, that's fine. They've been fantastic this year, just beautiful. But when I look out the window, I could see down below the house that the severe frost on the roof across the street and down in the valley, the entire valley was white with frost.
And your dahlias are okay?
Yeah, they're not even touched. And my tomato plants and I do have some succulents that I'm just sort of waving farewell to.
Well, I think there is a lot of hot air in your yard, but
yeah, there must be. I guess
here's the deal. Very similar, to the fires. I've been doing a lot of fire investigation and fire damage appraisals for trees and shrubs. And we got to go back to the phone lines here, but it's interesting how the fire will affect something, and right adjacent to it, a patio set is fine. Plastic patio set's okay.
Yeah.
It's just where the heat goes. And the frost, I think, is a similar thing.
Yeah.
We're going to go back to the phone lines here quickly before we have to take a break. Phil, good morning, Phil.
Good morning again.
Hey, Phil.
Yeah, you've been talking about frost. Have you had frost over there?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah? I'm up in Glen Rosa there, and I don't believe we've had any frost yet.
Yeah, you still got the heat from those fires.
Yeah.
I was just wondering if you would run over again the best way to store tomatoes after you, so that they'll ripen up.
Well, there's several ways. I've done it two ways. One is I just pick them and lay them out in the kitchen, not piled on top of each other, but just lay them out nicely on the kitchen and let them ripen. The green tomatoes ripen right on the counter or somewhere in the kitchen, or put a table up or something. That works. I've been eating tomatoes at Christmas time that are just fine. I pick them green, and I'm eating tomatoes at Christmas time.
Yep, they ripen.
Some of them don't. They may have a little lesion or something in them, and they cause some rot, and they have to be thrown out. But most often, they will come and ripen up for you. Yeah. They're not as tasty. They're not as tasty as a vine ripened tomato. There's no question about that. Right. But they are a tomato, right. And they can. In the other way,
they should be in the light and in the heat.
In the light and just room temperature. But the other way, Phil, that's even more successful, and the tomatoes tend to keep their flavor a little better. However, it's messy. So you have a room that you don't mind a bunch of dead leaves all over the floor and everything. That is to dig the tomatoes up, take most of the dirt off the roots, hang them upside down by the roots, right? Mm-hmm. And just let them dry out there, hanging from a string or a line of some sort in a room in the house where you don't mind the mess, because they do create a mess. You got to put a piece of plastic down or something,
and it can't be too cool, or else they get botrytis and they go all moldy.
Yeah, not too cool. It needs to be nice and warm, and so that works. I've had them done. I did that a couple of years in a row in my workshop, and I really had good success. The only thing is, as I say, it's quite messy.
Yeah. And you know what I would just put my 2 cents worth in there is that when you bring in any fruits, or say whether it's a tomato or a squash or whatever, the first thing you do is you always wash the fruit. So you don't have to. Some people put a tiny little couple drops of bleach into the water just to kind of kill the germs, but you may have some other alternative that might be better. Some of the fruit washes are pretty good, but you just wash them nice and clean so that there's no mold on the outer part of that fruit, and then just dry them carefully on a little bit of newspaper. A light wiping. Just try to keep them blemish-free, as Don was saying. If you get a little crack or scratch or something in them, they will be the first ones that will start to decompose. So, so make them clean and then just set them out on the newspaper. That's what we do as well. We don't usually go too out of our way, but the green ones will take sometimes a month or so to ripen, but they'll just ripen just at room temperature in your house. And they're pretty good. But
Perfect.
The long keepers, I know some people wrap them. They'll
newspaper.
Clean them, dry them, and then wrap them in newspaper.
Tissue paper.
Yeah, and they do them all individually.
Yeah. You might even try that with your regular tomatoes, Phil. Okay?
Your workshop must be warm then.
Oh, my workshop is warm.
Yes.
It's my happy house, my happy place.
I put some out there a couple of years ago in my workshop there, and it was cool. And I didn't have hardly any success with them there at all.
Mm-hmm. Well, Phil, we're going to have to take a break here, but we always appreciate your call.
Thank you.
Say hello to Anita.
Yeah.
Yeah, thank you.
Yep. Bye-bye now.
Bye-bye.
Okay, 250-862-2525, and we will be back with more AM 1150 Garden Show. We are back with you on the AM 1150 Garden Show. We've been here since 1983, for those of you who weren't born then. There's probably a lot of you that weren't born then, because that's a long time ago. But enjoyed every bit of it. And one of the things we do lately is getting our good friend, a very knowledgeable friend and fun to listen to, is Dan Bruce. And he's going to join us right now. Dan, what have you got up your sleeve today?
Well, First off, today and tomorrow are your last opportunities for this season to get into the Manor House at Fintry for a tour.
Ah, there you go.
And I highly recommend this, folks. This is not something Dan's just not blowing in his soup. This is amazing, this place. You got to see it.
Okay, this afternoon and tomorrow afternoon, that's it. Then we're closed up until spring.
Mm-hmm. And so it's not a long drive. I've been going out there to do some fire damage work on trees and shrubs, and really, it doesn't take long to get out to Fintry, and it's a nice little drive, and it's a great weekend to do it.
So, I might need to clarify one point about the subject in hand. Mm-hmm. I was talking to one listener, somebody I don't know. They approached me on the street, and when I refer to Aboriginal American agriculture, I mean the Western Hemisphere, North and South America, and the connecting piece mm-hmm. from north to south without any European political borders put on it. So the whole thing. Mm. And of course, because of the way nature is, the further into the tropics you get, the more different species there are to work on as far as agricultural produce is concerned. Mm-hmm. So that should clarify something for some people. I'm not just talking about North America.
No, that's right. The whole of Western Hemisphere.
Yeah. And in that whole area, perhaps the cultural group that has been most active in agriculture has been the Aztecs and their immediate predecessors. Part of that reason is that the Aztecs were a highly organized political unit. Mm-hmm. Their capital city, Tenochtitlan, which is now referred to as Mexico City, is at an altitude of 7,000 feet.
That's interesting.
So when you're visiting Mexico City and you're carrying a suitcase up to your hotel room and you start gasping for breath on the second set of stairs, it's okay. You're all right. You're just at 7,000 feet. That's all.
Yeah. So yeah.
But that meant that the Aztec Empire based there had a temperate climate, which is really good for agriculture. Mm-hmm. The Lake Texcoco, was had much more water in it in those days than it does today. To the Aztec, it was a blessing because agricultural water was right handy. As far as architecture was concerned, it was a problem because the bigger your building, the heavier it is, the further it pushes down, and that's why when you go to Mexico City today, quite a few of the old historic buildings are leaning somewhat because they've sunk into the
bog
mush at the bottom of Lake Texcoco.
Yeah, I've heard about this, and it is fascinating, and you know, Mexico City, I understand the population is one of the most populous cities in the world, is it not?
Yes. I mean, it might well be the most populous city in the world. I think there are more people in Mexico City than there are in Canada.
Wow.
Unbelievable, eh?
So the other part about this concept is that the Aztec ruled their empire from Mexico City, and their area of control went right down to the coast, the Gulf of Mexico, and onto the Pacific coast. So it included definitely tropical, hot, wet, humid, tropical, rainforesty type places, as well as high mountain zones. So they had easy access to the full range of growing conditions.
Wow, yeah, that's interesting.
And it shouldn't take anyone by surprise, but apparently it does, that when the Spanish first arrived in Tenochtitlan, they were confronted with this fully functional city. There were obviously houses, there were markets, there were temples, there were open park-like areas. The city had its own fresh water system, bringing cleaner water into the city. The Spanish were blown away by the concept that Moctezuma, the Aztec emperor, had a zoo and a botanic garden.
Cheapers, eh? It's something we don't quite often, the average person doesn't think about how advanced they were. That was where the Europeans first saw a North American bison. There was one in Moctezuma's zoo. Isn't that interesting?
Mind you, Europeans were familiar with bison because there's a species of it in Europe anyway, but here they found one in Mexico City. But staying with agriculture, there is a document that was produced in 1552. It's a catalog of medicinal plants, many of which would have been growing in the botanic garden in Tenochtitlan. So this is written on European paper, but it was produced by the Aztecs themselves.
Isn't that fascinating?
And the script on it is, of course, European script, because although the Aztecs wrote, their form of writing was cumbersome. It was effective, but cumbersome. The longhand script that I believe some people around here at the moment can't even read anymore. The longhand script was written in the Nahuatl language and then translated into Latin much later.
Wow.
But this catalog of plants has a drawing, a painting of each plant with a description of it, and also what its medicinal use was seen to be.
Dan, this is really fascinating. I think we should carry on next week with this theme in mind here, because I think that's fabulous. That the medicinal plants that are native to North and South America have been used by the Aboriginal folk that for years, and they have such a deep knowledge of stuff. We should carry on. We're running out of time here, but we should carry that theme on next week.
We can carry it on next week, but I will leave you with the concept that it was not all food and medicine. The Aztecs appreciated bright colors, and one of their legacies to us is the dahlia.
Really?
Yes.
There you that and it was named by a fellow named Dahl, right?
Yes.
Yeah. Dahl.
Yes, not Dale.
Yeah, that's right. It wasn't Dale. Look, that's great. And just one quick thing before we go: does it have frost and snow in Mexico City?
It can do.
Interesting.
You need to, if you're going to visit there, you need to take a jacket.
Yeah. Gotcha. Okay, well, let's carry on next week, buddy.
Okay.
Okay, Dan.
Right.
Thanks a lot.
Yep. Thanks, Dan. Take care. Bye-bye.
Dan Bruce.
Yeah, that was fascinating.
Always full of this interesting stuff. It's like reading a book every time Dan comes on. Anyway, that's Dan Bruce. That is the end of that portion of the show. We're going to have to take a short break, and we'll be back with more AM 1150 Garden Show. We have 10 minutes left on this portion of the show. Then we got a whole rip-roaring hour ahead of us after the 9 o'clock. And we've got our friend Gabe Capel coming on. We're going to talk strawberries. When we come back, we're going to learn everything there is to know about strawberries and more. Now, I don't want to put any pressure on him because he's a good friend. I hate putting pressure on
I think
friends.
you're putting a little pressure on him.
I don't like putting pressure on friends, but he's a giant in that neck of the woods. I mean, he knows what he's talking about. Mm-hmm. So all those folks that have been asking questions, do I cut them back? Do I mulch them? Do I do this? Do I do that? Bury whatever.
I had the deer trim mine this year. They came through and just sheared them right off, and then they came back beautiful. And I thought, maybe I should shear them in July.
I don't know if Gabe knows about deer, but you never know. I was in Ben Volin, so there's deer around there. Who knows? Okay, 250-862-2525 to get through to us today. And Ken, we were talking about bringing plants in and what you need to bring in, what you don't need to bring in. One of the things that can stay out through all these early frosts that we have, in fact, they can take even more than just an early frost. They can take quite a bit of frost, and that is geraniums.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
They love this weather. Yep. They're just looking good in this weather. And mine are. I've got several that I'm going to be bringing in to the greenhouse for the winter. However, I leave them out to the last minute, before I bring the geraniums in. The dahlias, I wait until they get frozen down. Soon as the tops are frozen down, then I dig them
because they'll just keep blooming and blooming and blooming. It's unbelievable.
They love the cool weather.
Yeah.
My banana will tell me if we had frost. I mean, we had frost on the roof of the shop, but my banana plant is just fine.
So it flows like water through your neighborhood, but I guess it's flowing over top of the houses. It's not getting down in the little cracks and crevices yet.
I guess not. Anyway, so the banana's good, but there are things that you should bring in. Begonias, same thing. I first time for a long time, I have grown tuberous begonias. I've wanted to grow tuberous begonias for a long, long time, and I bought some when we were at Brian Minter's a couple of years ago, and I got them in a container, the whitest white you can imagine. There's all sorts of shades of white, right?
Oh, yeah.
Right, and the interesting thing is, until you compare it, like this white begonia sitting there, right next to it, there's a white rose. The white rose looks like it's black.
Yeah, it looks brown.
Yeah, it's so not white. And yet when you look at that white rose by itself, it looks white. But that begonia is so white, it just puts a shame to the rose, the white rose. Anyway, so I'm going to save those. Those are the tubers. There's so many different kinds of begonias out there. And the ones that you really want to save are the tuberous begonias. And you don't have to save the whole plant. You just save the tuber. Yeah.
You know what I'm considering? We're on the white topic still. Is lantana, the white lantana.
Oh, yes.
Wendy picked some up this year and put them into some planters, and they are by far one of the. I would say, one of the nicest flowers we have. We have a lot of flowers, but that white lantana is short and compact. It's one of the dwarfer species or series, and pure white. Unbelievable.
But would love the greenhouse because it could basically the white fly that goes on lantana would blend right in with the blossom. It would look good. You could hardly see the fly.
Yeah, I should actually send you some so you can add some white fly to them for me.
I remember in our greenhouses when we had all our greenhouses there on Ethel Street. That was one of the things. Lantana was really prone to white fly. So was fuchsia. Fuchsia was prone to white fly,
and coleus.
Too.
Remember,
coleus was prone to white fly.
Yeah.
And poinsettias.
I think it was the greenhouse is the problem, and that's why they call it greenhouse white fly.
That's why they call it greenhouse white fly.
Like I have white fly here and there out in the garden, but it's just random, and they don't really add up to much. But as soon as you bring them in, that's when they go nuts. They love those constant temperatures, right around room temperature, just the optimum condition for them to multiply.
Ken, last Wednesday, we had the auction on silent auction on the big gala, the Nature Trust auction and gala.
Yeah,
it was fun. We tuned in online to this big auction and gala, and Donna and I saw a one of the auction items, 2 nights on Quadra Island.
Oh.
So we're thinking, our buddy Martin Place lives on Quadra Island. That's great. It gives us a chance to go see Martin Place, and we'll, so we bid on it. And we upped the bid 2 or 3 times, and we won a trip to Quadra Island. So it'll be like our little honeymoon.
Wow, there you go.
It'll be our pre-honeymoon because we're going to have another honeymoon. We'll be married 50 years in 2023.
Ooh,
so 2022, we're going to have our mini. This is a precursor to the honeymoon.
Very nice.
And so anyway, we're going to go to Quadra Island. We thought, okay, so we phoned Martin and said, Martin, we're coming to see you next summer. We got to arrange a time. And he says, oh, great. I told him, I said, we bought a weekend on Quadra Island. He said, well, that's interesting. He says, because we live on Savory Island. So
where is that?
Well, it's down. Savory is quite a bit south of Quadra.
Oh,
both all in the.
Oh, it's one of those islands.
It's one of those islands. So we're going to go island hopping. Is what we're going to do.
Great idea. There you go.
So we get on the BC ferries and go from island to island and have some fun. So we're still going to do the Quadra Island.
Oh,
thing,
of course, yeah.
Because we've never been there, and talking about BC and Canada and traveling.
Mm-hmm.
Dawn and I are going to focus in the next few years, as well as we got our trip to England coming next year. But what we're going to do is focus on local stuff that we hear about so much, especially the Gulf Islands, and up into, and we want to go up to the Klondike and up into Yukon and that kind of thing. Just see BC and the surrounding areas. Go to Alaska.
Oh yeah,
because we live in a province that is unsurpassed for beauty and for diversity.
Yes,
and that's what the Nature Trust is all about. Is that right across the province they've acquired private lands that are vulnerable, and people donate the lands sometimes. Sometimes the Nature Trust buys them outright, buys these just to preserve them, and they look after them. They manage the land, and they make sure that the land stays as it was when nature made it, the land. Right?
Yeah, fabulous.
So it is it's a great organization, and so we're glad to have contributed, but we got the wrong island.
It was a near miss.
Yeah, it was a near miss. That's right. It's an island. Whatever. Okay, we're going to have to take another short break here before the hour. We're looking forward to hearing from Gabe Coupel, who's going to phone in and talk strawberries when we get back out of the news coming up. I got to tell you, Ken, I didn't bring any to you. I was going to, but I got a pile of more figs coming off the fig plant.
Oh, yeah.
She's a beauty.
We had a nice week, didn't we?
Really?
Yeah, it was pretty nice.
Really producing figs.
Yeah.
I mean, I can't believe the number of figs we've had this year. It's all to do with how you can overwinter it and preserve as much of that wood as possible, because that's where the figs are going to come. If it freezes down, you're figless, is what you are.
You're figless
in the spring.
I hate being figless, but it's the way it goes.
Nice.
But it's nice the way you just build a little plastic greenhouse assembly around it, and then putting that little heating cable at the base that you only use when it gets really cold. Fabulous idea.
Yeah. And what I want to do, Ken, is do it right. So that I have to rebuild it every year. And this year I'm going to build it so that it's all it's just going to be pieces that I can dismantle and put together like Meccano every year.
Yeah.
What happens is I build it out of wood and 2x4s and things like that. Mm-hmm. And then next thing you know, I'm using those 2x4s for some other project. And so where does this fit? How does that fit? No, I'm going to be very organized this year with it.
Yeah. So take it apart and put it, hide it behind the shed or something in a specific little spot, and then it's good to go for next year.
Yeah. I'm actually hiding it over at your place. But anyway, I didn't tell you that.
Nope.
I'm running out of room. Okay, well,
not
here
a bad
we are.
idea.
Yeah, too much fun. My jacaranda, though, is getting to be huge. I don't think I'll ever get bloom on my jacaranda. The jacaranda is a tropical tree, and when we were in Australia, the beautiful sitting under the jacaranda trees when they're in bloom, it's just incredible. The panicles of flowers coming down, and it's a beautiful thing. But it has to. They when I look it up, they say it has to be about 8 or 10 years old, and the trunk has to be 8 inches thick, and it has to.
Yeah, it's like a walnut tree.
Yeah.
It's not going to produce till it's like 12 to 15 years old or whatever, right?
I don't think I'll ever see bloom, but I'm going to try and preserve as much of the wood this year when I put it in the greenhouse. It'll fit just in the greenhouse, and that's it. I'm going to cut it back to that size and see if I can't get some bloom on it. I mean, it'd be kind of fun, wouldn't it?
Well, sure. Why not, eh?
Yep, you betcha. Okay, well, how are we doing, Grinder? Should we take that news break pretty quick here? Yeah, we might as well take the news break because we can do that. We're allowed. And we're going to take that short break. We're going to invite your calls, 250-862-2525 to get through to Ken and I on the AM 1150 Garden Show. And we will be back with more AM 1150 Garden Show.
We are back with you at the AM 1150 Garden Show, and it is a lovely Saturday.
It is.
And it's not super sunny out, but it's not too bad. You know, could be worse after a little frost incident we had this week, just reminding us that it is October.
Now, I promised we'd get Gabe Capel on, the strawberry guy, and I'm sure he will call in. However, somebody has jumped in there, and I'm so happy he did. Tom Kennedy. Good morning, Tom.
Good morning. Ken and Don, how are you?
We're well,
Doing
and
good.
what a great gala we have. Gala? Is it gala or gala? I don't know.
I believe it
gala,
is.
but some people say gala.
Yeah, that's right. Anyway, Royal Gala Apples, and this was a Gala Nature Trust evening. It was fabulous. What a great thing to put on. Yeah, I don't know if you heard, but Donna and I bought a weekend on Quadra Island thinking that our buddy lived there. But he lives on Savory, so that's okay. We're going to enjoy Quadra Island, then we'll whip down to Savory just to visit Martin.
Missed it by that much.
I missed it by that much. Anyway, Tom, thanks for joining us.
Well, hey, it's an absolute pleasure, and yes, I'm glad that you partook in the auction. And just a quick reference to auction items. A big thank you, as usual, to Rod Charlesworth and Colleen Dyson for their incredible paintings. And there was a great selection of rare wines from Tom Budd. Support from Quailsgate, Fitzpatrick family, Summerhill, Burrowing Owl, Nighthawk, and Intersection were all most appreciated. And the auction raised over $70,000 into itself. And then including donations in general with respect to the gala event, if you will, from all over the province and maybe elsewhere. Everything included came to over $1 million. So that's just a fantastic base was the event, and a great thank you to the two of you, of course. And also the Delta Grand and Spirit Ridge came in for accommodation again, which was great. And guys like Todd Alstad, Gary Benson, girls like Marie Sperling and my sister Elaine also helped out in the background, spreading the word, etc. So it's and I'm not, I won't mention that there's more people involved with, obviously the event and from the Okanagan, but the Okanagan came to the table as usual, and a great thanks to the Okanagan and for anyone that from the Okanagan that acquired auction items, aside from Don Burnett. I hope you enjoy those auction items immensely.
Well, I hope you mean that I shouldn't enjoy them? Yeah, of course I'm going to enjoy it. Tom, this is great. Give me a call after the show because I've got a question for you that's it's not a secretive or anything, but it's something I just want to talk to you in person on. So give me a call when the show's over today.
I've always kept your history, separate from the public airwaves.
Yeah, it's not history. I just want to ask you a question about the availability of that gala evening, if that's available, so that I can share it with some of the folks that I think would be very, very interested in that Nature Trust Foundation.
I don't know if anyone did either of you have a chance to actually listen to the online virtual gala for that hour?
Yeah, I was there for the hour. Yeah, Donna and I watched it.
Yeah, I thought that was absolutely fantastic.
Yes.
It went so smoothly.
Oh, yes. They're very, very well presented.
Yeah, and it was, I could, I sat down to watch it, and I was glued to it for an hour because it was just done so well. You just never know exactly if there's going to be glitches or this or that, but it.
No, it was smooth. But so is that accessible?
The recording.
Yeah, yes, my understanding it's on the. You can
on the website.
Yeah, you can get the link to it on the website.
Well, that answers. But you can still call me, Tom. I love to hear from you. But look, we're going to have to move on. We've got a great guest coming on talking strawberries, and I've been waiting all week for this.
Well, great, and I will talk to you after the show.
Right on, sir. Appreciate the call.
Thanks again, Okanagan.
Thanks, Tom. Take care.
Thanks for calling.
Bye-bye now.
Bye-bye.
And now, without further ado, my good friend Gabe Capel is joining us. Thanks for calling in, Gabe.
Yeah, not at all, Don. After that flattering introduction you gave me, I thought I'd walk out to Munson Pond here just behind the property and see if I could walk on water.
Walk on the water, of course.
It didn't work. I got wet.
The paparazzi get in the way anyway.
Yeah, Gabe, great. You and I go back a long way. Our families go back a long way, and both in friendship, music, and in our horticultural experiences. But
Absolutely.
Your property there, how long did you grow strawberries on that property on Ben Bowlin?
Well, we didn't start on this property. We started on at KLO and Mission Creek, and so we named that site Mission Creek Strawberries, and that started out in 1987 was our first harvest, and subsequently we were in the harvest in the strawberry business for 27 years.
Wow. And you did such a fabulous job, neat and tidy, and it just looked great. Now, here's a couple of the questions that were asked by listeners, which kind of triggered me phoning you to find out. Let's get it right from Gabe. Do you prune your strawberries back in the winter?
Well, it was recommended that we mow the strawberry plants about 10 days after harvest, and this would stimulate the new growth. And in that new growth, if there were deficiencies, they would appear in foliage, and then you could treat accordingly with whatever the foliage reflected in nutritional deficiencies.
Okay, okay, that's good. So the new growth would tell you a story, right?
Exactly, yeah. I had this little booklet entitled Strawberry, what the heck was it now? It's been a long time. I looked for it and I couldn't find it. Hunger Signs in Strawberries is what it was.
Interesting.
And it was remarkable what you could read, knowing what to look for.
Mm-hmm. They're hardy strawberries. Now let's get this straight. There are two types of strawberries in general: the June-bearing and the ever-bearing, right?
Correct. Yeah.
Which ones did you grow, or did you go both?
We grew only June berries.
Okay.
Yeah, and initially, we kind of randomly took varieties that grew and were grown in the Fraser Valley, but we soon discovered that what grew in one place didn't necessarily do well in another. So over time, we came down to focusing on two varieties that all things considered did best here in the valley here.
Can you name the varieties?
Those two were Shucksan and Honey Eye.
Very good. I remember Shucksan, but I don't remember Honey Eye.
Yeah,
So
they are.
I'm gonna write that down.
Those two are predominantly the June berries that are grown commercially in the valley here now. And what we found as we got towards the latter 10 years of our efforts in growing strawberries was that the temperatures were getting too warm to grow them as we had previously, and we were losing crop to sun scald and that sort of thing that hot weather would impact on the berries, given that they're such a soft fruit, vulnerable to so many climatic conditions. It became increasingly difficult to to harvest completely a full crop.
Okay. But for the homeowner, and this is who we predominantly are talking to here, still a good plan to grow some strawberries and enjoy. Do you still grow a few for your own use?
No, we don't. I had enough of strawberries, and
okay.
They're very labor intensive.
Yes.
You really have to keep an eye on them at all times. Especially if you're doing it commercially, you turn your back on them, and the first thing you know, you got a problem somewhere in the patch.
Yep. Okay, here's a couple more questions before we go. We're running out of time here, but I wanted two more questions. One is, first of all, we hear so much about strawberry diseases, and is it something you would do, like replant with certified plants every 3-4 years? Is that something you do?
Yeah, absolutely. Don't try and compromise and save money taking plants from an existing site and relocating those plants, because it's likely if there's a disease, you're going to reintroduce it into your new site.
Okay, that's good. That's kind of on track with what Ken and I have known over the years. Do you have to cover them in the winter?
Well, we did this. We'd get shavings from the local mills and have humongous piles that we'd, over time, once the ground was frozen, so we could travel on it without causing ruts between the rows. We'd spread out these shavings maybe 1 inch to 2 inches deep and covered the entire field just for frost protection. And as well, it would keep the berries clean, as well as shoes and boots. That it was always a U-pick that we had, so people were pleased to come in even after a rain and pick in very clean conditions. And a strawberry that is got dirt splashed on it from a rain or irrigation is just about impossible to clean.
Right.
You're going to be gritting your teeth.
Yeah, that's great, Gabe. Look at one more thing. Are they called strawberries because people would often grow them on a layer of straw?
This I don't know. It could well be. It sounds like a good theory, but I'm not sure why they're called strawberries or if that's the reason why.
Well, on that note, buddy, I really appreciate you're very, very helpful to us. And if I have any more strawberry questions come in, Ken and I will definitely contact you.
Absolutely,
and,
not at all.
You take care, buddy.
Yeah, good talking to you both.
Thanks for calling.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Yeah,
Dave
amazing.
Capel.
That's great.
Okay.
Great information.
Retired like I'm supposed to be, but there you go. I'm not. He is.
There you go.
Anyway, okay, what we're going to do is take a short break here because that's what we do in the quarter hour, and we invite your calls, 250-862-2525 to get through to us. It's all your show from now on, folks, so give us a call. We'll be back with more AM 1150 Garden Show. We are back with you. Beautiful Saturday morning. It's fall. We have certain things out in the garden that I'm going to leave out there for a bit, and then there's certain things that I've had to get back into the greenhouse. Got the heat going in the greenhouse. I really have it set up, Ken. It's just I'm just so happy with the way the greenhouse is set up. People say, well, do you heat it all winter? Yes, I heat it all winter. What do you heat with? I heat with natural gas. There's other ways a person could do that. You could heat a little bit more environmentally friendly heating with geotherm, perhaps
heat pumps
and geotherms and stuff like that. However, my property is not that big and the greenhouse is not that big, so I don't think I burn too much gas keeping it through the winter. And I keep the temperature right now. I keep the temperature in. I don't let it go below 18 above. I'm not growing tomatoes and cucumbers this year. I find there are white fly factories. Like they want to produce white fly.
Yes.
And so I figured I'd go a season without growing a winter crop of tomatoes, and see if I can't keep that white fly under control.
Well, now look at all the room you have.
Well, that's right, and the old jacaranda is going to take up a lot of that. And I've got a mandevilla vine that's getting to be pretty big. It's going to be taking up some room. I've got a huge ginger plant, Ken, it's the most beautiful ginger plant. It's
a flowering one.
2.5 feet wide, and it's a variegated leaf.
Yep.
It's a lovely plant. I got a piece of it from my good cousin, Ross McLeod, who, by the way, is Kay McLeod's son.
Mm-hmm.
And Kay McLeod is my favorite aunt. She's hopefully listening to the show today. And I'd like to say hello to Auntie Kay, one of my favorite people in the world. And Ross is in town at the moment and helping Auntie Kay find AM 1150. It's like, hey, Siri, play AM 1150. And it comes on.
That's how it goes these days. Yeah, the dial is much smaller. There you go. See?
Oh, look at that. My phone just, yes, sorry. Yeah, okay. Isn't that something? I said, hey, I'm not going to say it again because
it'll fire right up.
Come on, Siri.
Who's listening?
And I wonder if it's a real person. I wonder if SIRIE is a real person. Or no, I guess it's SIRI. All right. Hey, SIRI, could you play AM 1150? They won't. You got to say, hey, the name.
Yep.
And if it's just stupid. Anyway, 250-862-2525 to get through to Ken and I today. We're having fun as usual on a Saturday morning. We started the show in 1983. I was just 5 years old when we started the show back in 83.
Yep. Before iPhones.
Yeah. I was actually 33 years old when we started this show. I remember the day clearly. It was just a lot of fun. A little bit nervous, but it's something that I've enjoyed doing all these years. We're now, hitting 1,814 shows since 1983. Oh, is it more than that?
Yeah, I think so.
Is 1,143 on this particular location, I believe. Maybe more. I'll have to do my corrections to my documents here to be right on. I don't know who's going to care, but Ken's caring. Ken says, "Oh no, it's more than that." Okay, it probably is. Mm-hmm. Okay, well, you know what I think we're going to do. Well, we've got somebody calling in now, so that's fine. I was going to take a break, but we're not going to take a break because we've been joined by Linda. Good morning, Linda.
Hi, fellow.
Morning.
Hey.
Good morning.
I have two unrelated questions. Our house seems to have gotten a whole bunch of fruit flies. It's not like we've been bringing in a lot of fruit. We were actually away for a week, and we came home, and there's all these fruit flies on the windows. Is there something? What's the best way to get rid of these buggers?
Well, you know something? We're not sure whether they're fruit flies or some other little gnat of some sort.
Oh, okay.
There's so many of these little guys. It's bat food, right? So you need some bats. You got to get some bats into the house.
Release a couple hundred in the house. And...
one thing you can do, Linda, is get some sticky, yellow sticky traps.
Okay.
You hang them in the window. Now make sure they don't touch the curtains because they'll get stuck to the curtains.
Yeah.
But they are very sticky. The yellow, these little guys are attracted to that yellow, and it's a very safe way to keep the populations to a bare minimum, It works
really well. Yeah, they just can't resist. They have to go to that yellow color.
What about ant dusting powder? That doesn't work for these guys?
Not really, because diatomaceous earth and some of the ant powders that contain insecticides and whatnot, they don't. It's kind of hard to nail them, unless you're spreading the dust all over your house.
They
and that's
don't
not
always
a good
land
idea.
on a flat surface.
Well, that's right.
They will land right on the glass.
It's much better to get these, and you can buy these, the little sticky boards. There's the little strappy things that you can put in pots, but the one I'm thinking of is what I had in the greenhouse, hanging these sticky boards there, and they are so totally attracted to them. And that'll get them down. I think it's seasonal. I don't think you're going to have a problem all winter long.
God, I hope not.
Yeah, I know.
And their life is very short too. They only live for a couple days. So, but I would say that's a great choice. They are really attracted to the yellow color, and I think they're quite decorative actually.
Oh, and you just get them at like Rona or a place like that?
Yeah, you can Rona or Art Naps or Bylands, Buckerfields. Yep. They all have them.
Oh, okay, great.
Now. I was just going to say that I'm getting so many calls on those little flies, and what they are. Like when we go out on our patio, they're flying all over the place out there.
Mm-hmm. This is the time of the year
but it's different this year, Ken. It's not the same. Like there's way more of them this year, and I'm getting way more calls on it.
Okay, good to know.
Yeah.
I was worried it was my housekeeping or something.
Oh yeah, that's what a lot of homeowners think. Oh my God, I got to clean up my house because I got the cleaning lady coming.
Who knows? They can sometimes just follow you into the house, or they can come from a house plant, or maybe it is a little bit of fruit that's somewhere in the house. It
could be fruit
in
flies.
a cupboard, the back of a cupboard or something, and you just never know. So, but all of these different species, pretty much all of them are attracted to that yellow color. Yeah. So you can get them. Yeah.
Okay, I will. My second question, I know you guys covered it a few weeks ago, and I neglected to write it down. I want to save some of my geraniums, and I remember there was a lady that called in, and she said what she did, and you guys seemed quite impressed with whatever method she used. Can you recount what that was, or what did you what would you recommend how I do it?
Well, hopefully she's listening, so we can get this right, because I got it wrong once, and she called back in. So hopefully that gal is listening, and she can give us a call. But I believe it was she was taking fairly good-sized cuttings.
No, just tip cuttings she was taking. That was what the question was. That was the discrepancy. But we often talk about that at the end of each season, around the end of August or beginning of September. You can take little cuttings from your existing geraniums and grow them in small pots. They root really easily at that time of year just by putting them straight into soil. And then you just grow them on. Then you've got these nice small plants you can grow on a windowsill, and then they're good to go for next year. But if you want to keep the main plant alive, then all you really need to do is either, if it's growing in a pot, bring it inside, strip off the dead leaves, grow it as a small house plant if it's not too big. If it is one of the bigger ones and you still want to keep it, then you just, if it's in a bigger pot, you put it in the garage, or you can keep it in a place that's cool for the winter, and then that plant is available for next year as well, as long as they're kept on the dry side through winter. Some people pull them out of the ground and they bare root them and they put them into storage. You've talked about this, Don, and putting them in the basement, and some people hang them upside down and do all kinds of sort of torturous things to them.
They're pretty resilient. I mean, they do hold up their energy in the wood and whatnot, and they can be fired back up in the spring. It takes a little bit of work to do that, but there's many different ways. And just to get things really down pat, if our gal, the geranium gal, is listening, maybe she can give us a call.
That would be great. Because if I put him in one, I want to keep the main plant. So I'll I remember her saying she puts a whole bunch, really crowds them into a particular pot. And do they need light or anything, or in a dark area, or what do I do?
No, they need to have light if they're going to grow. And so what she does is she just has a single pot, and then she grows these little cuttings, and she just tucks them all into one pot. So she'll have 15 or 20 in a pot, and then she just grows it as a house plant, so near close to a window, indoors, and keeps them fairly moist. And at first to get them to root, and then after a while they just keep them on the dry side through the winter. And in the spring she divides them all up.
Okay, when you say a cutting, do I let it root first, or just take a cutting off?
I think she just sticks them. She just said she direct sticks them into a pot, about a 6-inch pot or so, and puts it all.
See, and that's where I'm confused, because I thought she said they were long cuttings.
No, that's why she phoned back.
I was talking tip cuttings, and I thought. Well, anyway, that's why I'm confused. But I'm 71 years old, so it doesn't take much, I'll tell you.
Yeah, I know. I'm 72, so I know.
Okay, Linda. Well, stay tuned. Appreciate it. Okay, bye-bye now.
All right, thanks for calling.
We're going to take a short break here. 250-862-2525 to get through to us, and we'll be back with more AM 1150 Garden Show. We are back with you for another half hour of rip-roaring garden show, coming to you from the AM 1150 studios on downtown Kelowna. Which absolutely used to be, used to be the town jail. I don't know if you knew that, Grinder, but this used to be the jail up here. So I'm just saying.
Don, we've done this show for how many years? We've talked about this a couple of times.
Okay. But I was just saying, but there may be people that haven't heard it. Okay, so
we go to jail every Saturday.
I'll stop every Saturday. Ken and I and Gurinder go to jail, and Amber does too. Anyway, we're going to go back to the phone lines because we've got Richard waiting for us to talk to. Good morning, Richard.
Good morning. In the jail.
Yeah, we're in jail. Yeah, behind bars. We're behind bars. It's not the kind of bars I'd like to be behind, but if you know what I mean.
Yeah. Well, listen, I have a boxwood hedge, some of which looks like it may end up in jail. Much of the hedge at the back of our property, which is well watered, is very healthy and doing fine. But in the lower part of our property, with the irrigation restrictions this summer, it looks pretty awful. The leaves are very pale. They're getting sparse. And I'm wondering if I think it's all still alive, though fresh leaves are infrequent right now. Mm-hmm. Should I be fertilizing or doing anything before the winter to try to save it?
Yeah, well, that's a good question. And it would be beneficial to feed it now because of what they know about a lot of shrubs and plants, and particularly evergreens, will absorb nitrogen, particularly late in the season, like right now. And it'll store it in their system, in their roots, and in their stems for use in the springtime. Because what you're going to be in next year is in recovery mode. The plants are going to grow predominantly from like May 1st until about July 30th. That's sort of your window. So you want to be ready to go first thing in the spring. And so if you do apply fertilizers now, they won't see an actual response, but they will absorb some of that into their root system and be ready to go for spring. Okay. But the other issue that you're having is probably not just nutrient related, and it is partially heat related, but it's really most likely an insect problem. And or in this case, an arachnid, which would be the boxwood mite, which is quite common, and it causes quite a paling discoloration of the plant, and it's quite sort of difficult to deal with. But what I would recommend to just have a closer look at that particular plant, and possibly even get a sample out to either Don or myself to have a look at, and then we can talk a little bit more about boxwood mite and see if that potentially could be the issue. And and then at that point, then you go on a little bit of a mini spray program with one of the local spray companies just to get that under control, plus your feeding program, which will get it up and growing in the spring.
Oh, that's amazing. Now, when you say get a sample, are you allowed to bring samples into the jail?
Well,
as long as there's no hacksaw buried in them,
no contraband or anything. Yeah.
Do you just come by the nursery or what?
Well, no, there's no nursery. Well, Ken's got his business out there, but I'm just at home in my little home office, and I'm in the book. I'm actually still in the phone book.
Are you in Kelowna area?
Yeah.
Yeah. So it might be best just to run over to Don's and he can have a look. And so maybe we can just leave your number.
2484 Rhonda Crescent, and down by Gushigan
Village
Gardens. 2484 Rhonda Crescent. You can come by. I'm going to be home today because we're having a little get together this afternoon at 3:00. So you know, anytime after the garden show till 3, you could pop by with your sample.
Well, you two are amazing. Thanks. Enjoy your show. Have a good weekend.
Awesome.
Okay, sir. Thanks for the call.
Yep.
Bye-bye.
Okay, bye-bye now.
Yeah.
The reason I was kind of hesitant here, Annette, and you might know this without even talking about what, I was at a seminar once. It was an arborist seminar, and we were talking about boxwood. Now, there's Korean boxwood and there's English boxwood.
Yep.
And one of the two does better in the Okanagan. Which one is that?
The Korean one.
The Korean does better in the Okanagan.
Yeah.
Okay.
But they technically both do relatively well. But the issue was that there was an outbreak of a fungus disease, boxwood blight, and that was causing a major problem in the coastal areas. And it was predominantly affecting the English boxwood group. Mm-hmm. And a little bit, it's just more or less that humid environment in coastal regions where people, where these particular plants are sometimes more susceptible to it. So what they found was that if people had hedges that were more like Korean species, then those would not be as affected. Some a little bit of a infection of the disease, But the English boxwoods were really devastated. Whereas here, where we have the English boxwood and the Korean boxwoods, that they were all pretty good. And that's, again, because of our climate being more hot and dry. And
Nothing to do with the acidity alkalinity issue?
No, they seem to all do pretty well. The columnar boxwoods now, which are grown more as a hedge now, like similar replacement for the pyramid cedar, much more drought tolerant and just a better choice, deer resistant, all that. They're an English type of boxwood and a very nice plant.
Well, I'll tell you, I've seen some fabulous boxwood stands. And then I've seen some less than fabulous with some of the boxwoods in there misbehaving and whatnot.
Yeah.
So it is, but it's a great plant, deer resistant. It's all sorts of good things.
We have 3 insect problems that we have with the boxwoods here, and we do see them quite regularly. Like I mentioned, the boxwood mite is one of them. There's actually a blister mite as well. And if you know about blister mites, they'll live inside the leaf, and sometimes the leaf will cup. You get a cupping effect.
Very common.
And we get that more here than they do in coastal areas. We also get another type of aphid, an aphid that actually gets on them, which is a little woolly aphid, and it causes a similar problem as well. So those are issues that we have, particularly to our drier climate, and I'm not sure how readily how those particular issues affect the coastal regions, just because there's so much more humidity there. So that's something we'll definitely be brushing up on.
Yeah, you bet. Look at Ken. You remember? This is a little side note on boxwood, but remember Mike Durante? He came and gave us a haircut every once in a while at Mike the Barber, right?
Absolutely.
He's since passed away. Not too long ago he passed away, way up in years. But he was a great barber, and he would come to the nursery, and Ken and I were down, and we'd go down in the lunchroom and have our hair cut because we were too damn busy to go to the barber,
we were just slammed every day.
Yeah, so we'd have him have a portable making home visits barber. Anyway, Mike used to call his boxwood wood box.
Oh,
he had an Italian. He was an Italian accent and whatnot. He says, "You got it a wood box for me."
Mike was great.
We don't burn wood anymore, Mike. But anyway, he's a great guy and very interested gardener. In his home on Glenmore Drive, across from the golf course, Jerry DeHaze and I, my good buddy Jerry, who I grew up with as a teenager, and played in a band with him. We planted a tree there that now is about 1.5 feet in diameter at the base, big blue spruce.
Oh, yeah.
We planted it there, and I remember the two of us planting that tree just like it was yesterday, and that was 1964. So anyway, or maybe it was 65. I'm not sure.
64 is to
right
commemorate my birthday.
We've got here you go, 1964. Yeah. Now what we have is Sandy joining us. Morning, Sandy. Again.
Hi. Yeah, I got a really quick tip for people who need to catch little tiny flies in their house.
Oh, okay.
Perfect.
I've got little containers. Well, they're actually little canning jars that I've punched holes in the top lid. You put cider vinegar, a couple of drops of dish soap, and a little bit of water just to thin it down, and just set them around where all these little flies are, and you catch a whole lot of them.
Yeah, little fruit flies particularly.
They're all drunk.
They love that cider.
Yeah, they just all go in there, and they're all floating around the bottom, and doesn't take long to clean them up that way.
Well, there you go, Sandy. Appreciate that. My brother-in-law, Dick Vernon, used to put wine in a glass, a little red wine.
Yeah, but that's expensive.
It's expensive, a waste of wine. But I'm just saying. And then he'd have the little yellow sticky traps in that. And the yellow they'd come for the wine and
You combine
well, maybe
them.
Put a yellow lid on your containers.
Maybe
that would draw them closer.
Or a little yellow tape or something.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. Sandy, we always appreciate your call.
Okay, thanks.
Take care, girl.
Bye.
Bye-bye now.
Thanks for participating.
We are going to take the last break of the day, and we invite your calls, 250-862-2525, when we come back with more AM 1150 Garden. And here we are, back with you on this beautiful Saturday morning. And it is turning out to be a beautiful Saturday morning. A little chilly this morning, but not as chilly as it was yesterday. yesterday.
Yeah.
Chilly. Ooh.
That was chilly.
Yeah. And,
but I think we're pretty soft, though. We've come through a beautiful summer, extremely hot there for a while, but then it was nice after the heat went. It was just kind of nice.
First time I've ever heard of a heat dome.
Yeah.
First time.
Dome.
Never heard of a heat dome before.
I hope we don't get another heat dome.
It was like that show Get Smart. They had the Dome of Silence. And this was the Dome of Heat.
Yeah, I don't like those domes all that much.
No, we should get rid. But we're lucky. We live here. It's very sad. Some of the fire claims that I've been looking after, Ken, very, very sad. My heart goes out to anybody who lost their home or had damage. I've got one client up in up north of here. I won't mention the name, but they, it was a 94-year-old gentleman and his wife who had this beautiful property right out in the middle of the bush. And the property, they had a little greenhouse, they had the house, they had out sheds, they had
piece of heaven,
a garden all surrounded by fencing to keep the deer out. They had put so much effort into it, and they were up in years, so they knew that this was going to be the last few years on their property and whatnot. Yeah, and it's gone. It's all gone, and it's very, very sad. Not only the house and the property and the trees and shrubs on the property are gone, the entire forest around them is gone. So all they have is black sticks all over the place.
Devastating.
So people that got through that summer, and it was a rough summer, smoke-wise and all that. It's nothing compared to the people that lost those homes. So my heart goes out to them, and it's bad. Fortunately, overall, I don't believe there were any loss of life as far as these homes that went for. But I talked to one person just in one of the files I'm working on, and she said we were having a meal with our grandkids and all our family. It was a meal, and she said she just looked out the window and she saw this smoke coming down the road, and this is way up in the bush, right? Their home is quite out in the bush, and she saw this smoke coming down the road, and so she said, she looked out. And she saw it coming. She said, we got to get out of here. And they got out. And by the time they got out, the whole place was on fire.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it's
pretty scary. Yeah. It's much drier than they've ever seen. Like these fires are unbelievable and not at all normal, not even close. No. There have never been fires this big as in recent memory, but even in the last 25 years, they're getting bigger, but the one thing that I always think is that they're burning up all this extra fuel out there, and hopefully, just hopefully, that some of that is going to slow it down.
Yeah, that's true.
But
what bothers me is that a lot of it was human caused.
Yeah.
Yes, it is climate change and all that stuff, but it's still a lot of it is human caused. A lot of it could have been prevented by people not throwing their cigarettes out and not,
Yeah, whatever the method was. Yeah.
Okay, well, we're getting close to the end of the show, Ken. I always enjoy coming in on a Saturday morning and sitting with you and chatting, and we do have other things that we enjoy doing together. I've played lots of music with you, and we've enjoyed. I enjoy your company with your dear wife, Wendy. We've enjoyed that, visits and whatnot. But Saturday mornings are special to us. We are been doing this for many, many years, and as we get through the week, about Thursday, I said, okay, what am I going to do with the garden show? I got to start thinking about what we're going to talk about and whatnot. But it is caller driven. Without the callers, it wouldn't be the show it is. And we really appreciate the callers that call in every week. We've got our regular callers, and we hear lots of new voices as well. And we appreciate every one of you, all the regulars and all the new callers. So
absolutely,
keep it up, folks, and we'll just keep doing our thing. We might have time for just a quickie. I mean, if somebody wants to call in, it's 250-862-2525. We just got a few minutes left here, and I just want to mention that we still are promoting our trip to Chelsea. There's still a few spots available on that trip to Chelsea, the Chelsea Flower Show in England. It's not just the Chelsea Flower Show we're going to, because we're going to go see Kew Gardens. We're going to go see all sorts of botanic gardens. And we got tours of London and enjoying the city itself. But that is something you give Marlin Travel a call for. Marlin Travel, Gail at Marlin Travel. It's 250-868-2540 or gail.fritzen, that's Fritsen, at marlintravel.ca, and she'll tell you all about it. Now, here we go. We got calls coming in now, which we're going to have to breeze through, folks.
Oh, yeah.
If you want to talk to us, it's going to have to be quick, which is fine. Grinder, you can just throw me one name, and I will answer that call. Cynthia, good morning, Cynthia.
Hi.
Good morning.
I just had a suggestion for the lady with the fruit fly problem.
Oh, yes.
Mm-hmm.
What I do is I take a bowl, like say a cereal-sized bowl, and I put red wine vinegar in it, and I cover it with saran wrap and poke holes with a toothpick in the saran wrap.
Yeah.
And they get in, and they drown in the red wine vinegar, and they can't get back out.
That's cruel, you know.
They're drawn to that red wine vinegar.
And so how big are the holes? A toothpick size hole, eh?
Yeah, and maybe like slightly bigger, but if you make them too big, then they can get back out.
Right.
Okay. So they have a drink and then get back out. Yeah. Well, that's great information. We appreciate it very much, and thank you for the call.
You're welcome.
Okay.
Bye-bye.
Thanks for calling.
Okay. We've got Brian joining us. Good morning, Brian.
Good morning.
Good morning, gentlemen.
Hey.
We had a bumper crop of carrots this year in a raised bed in our garden.
Nice.
They came in thick as hair on a dog's back, I think you'd say.
Mm-hmm.
We'd like to store them, and we've had experience storing them in sand before over the winter in a cool spot.
Mm-hmm.
Should they be washed before they go into sand, or do you have any other suggestions as to storing them?
Yeah, I would say that it's a good idea to remove the soil from them. And usually, you know, there's often some fine hairs that are still on the carrots when you're going to grow them in sand, because that's how we always used to do them as well, was just putting them in sand and keeping them in a cool location.
But give them a bit of a rinse first. Is that what you're saying?
I think so. My mother-in-law would store her carrots in sand outside in the ground, and she just go out in the middle of winter. She had them stored in sand. Then she had mulch over top, so the ground wouldn't freeze, and she'd just dig into the mulch.
Sure.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And even in the bed, right where they are, which is something that what some people also do, is they just cover them all up with straw. But the one thing I find is when they are outside, you have to watch for the rodents. There are a few sneaky ones that'll get in there and
and also the carrot rust fly. That's another issue.
Sure.
Yeah.
Well, maybe we'll do some of each. If the patch is so big, we'll dig some and leave some and see what works out best.
And let us know. We love to hear results of your efforts.
Yeah.
Okay, well,
buddy.
Thank you very much for that. I know you're close to the end of your show.
Thank you, Brian.
Thanks for calling.
Yep.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
We could still squeeze a Carol in. Have you ever been squeezed in before, Carol?
Hi there.
Hello.
Neighbors are saying the reason our fir trees are turning brown and dying off just suddenly, the whole property, is because of that heat dome. I don't know if that or disease. Some people are saying they'll come back, and I think they're gone for good. Do you have any information on that?
Well, what types of trees are they?
They're fir trees.
Oh, fir trees. It could be an insect infestation, so don't give up on them yet. The fir trees, this year we did have a couple infestations of spruce budworm and spruce needle miner. And some of them, as long as there's a little bit of green left on them here or there, they can come back. So don't give up on them yet. And if you can get a sample or have somebody have a closer look at them, just to identify, you need a little piece of branch that has some of the needles on it that are, maybe if there's even a few green ones and some dead ones at the same time, then we can have a look at that. I've got a client that I have to go and look at myself that has the exact same problem. And
maybe you can talk about it next Saturday on the show.
Yeah, I'm going to go have a look here in the next day or so, and then so by next Saturday I'll give you an update.
Have you seen? Is it a Douglas fir you're talking about? Douglas fir?
I'm not sure. I just know they're not cedar and they're not pine.
Okay. I have a client I just went and saw. Douglas fir bark beetle is happening. So you look for frass and that. And Carol, you can always give me a call at home too, or on my cell 250-878-6878, and I can ask you some questions about what you're seeing there and see if we can pin it down. Okay.
Sounds good.
Thank you, dear.
Thank you.
Okay.
Yep. Thanks for calling.
Bye-bye.
All right.
We're getting really close now. We got to do the tips and plants of the week, and then we're out of here. My tip of the week is watch the weather like a hawk. Some things are very sensitive, while others not so much. And we expanded on that during the show. My plant of the week is liquid amber, the American sweet gum. Fabulous color and a nice, controllable, smallish tree.
All right, I also have a tip and a plant. My tip of the week is that it's time to plant garlic. It's traditional right around Thanksgiving to plant some garlic. So happy Thanksgiving and plant some garlic tomorrow. All right, now my plant of the week is the burning bush, the Euonymus alata. That particular family is beautiful, and it's just in beautiful, beautiful red color right now. One of the nice fall colors that you have in the garden. Very nice. All right, remember to check growercoach.com.
And we have the Shigo quote of the week right now for you. And Dr. Shigo is the father of modern arboriculture, wrote many, many books. And this is what I get from his Tree Pithy Point book. Insects keep nitrogen high in the soil. I don't know. We study that one. But anyway, insects keep nitrogen high in the soil. And that's Shigo, Dr. Shigo. We're going to see you next week with more AM 1150 Garden Show.